These are the best things that you can do to get your avoidant ex to regret leaving you in 30 days or less. The first thing that you want to do is to go no contact with them without letting them know. The reason why you don't want to let them know this is because you are going to completely throw them off guard. They are so used to you chasing them down, trying to make things work out, that when you go no contact with them and don't tell them, they are not used to this and they don't know how to react to it, right? They genuinely believe that you are going to always be around for them in some way or some form because they take for granted the love and care and commitment that you have towards trying to make the relationship work. And while you were doing all of these things to do this, they essentially took that as evidence that you are always going to be attached to them and they can continue to do whatever they want and not really have to face any consequences, which is you essentially moving on. But when you go no contact with them out of nowhere, this is going to force them to take the situation seriously and realize that this could be the start of them losing you completely. And this is typically where they will start to react. And I wouldn't be surprised if your avoidant ex reaches out to you, because this is their way of trying to test you to see what's happening, right? They want to see if you're going to respond to them, because that's going to give them evidence that you are still available to them in some way or some form. And that's why it's so imperative that you do not break no contact no matter what they say to you, really. Which leads perfectly into the second thing that you want to do here, and that is starting to take some steps towards moving on. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to try to overnight completely move on from this person, because that's not a reality, right? It's going to take some time and healing for you to actually start to get there. But what you are essentially doing here is doing those steps to actively try to move on from this person. It doesn't mean that you need to take these huge drastic steps either. It just means that every day you are trying to do something to get yourself to start to move on. And this doesn't need to be a positive thing in the sense that you are doing something productive or whatever that might be. That might simply look like you crying or being so frustrated about this relationship, because negative emotions are not bad emotions in the sense that they are a way of your body trying to express these emotions, which is going to lead to you starting to move on. So by you not trying to ignore those emotions because you're trying to get back with this person, or suppress them down because you don't want to feel those negative emotions, and is what's going to prolong you from actually being able to heal from this person. But by you taking those small steps, they're going to add up over time, which is essentially going to compound into you making bigger steps towards moving on from this person. Number 3 is to start to level up physically and emotionally. Now, when I say physically, it doesn't mean that you are essentially needing to lose a certain amount of weight. If that's something that you want to do, go for it. But what we're essentially talking about here is that you are doing something physically and emotionally for yourself to level yourself up. That could simply mean you just simply going on a walk, or you going to get a facial, or doing something to take care of yourself physically that you didn't get to do in the relationship because you were so caught up in trying to make things work with this person, right? There's so much energy and time that you're putting into this that you naturally begin to neglect yourself. And there's a lot of things that you just simply did not do for yourself that maybe you typically would, or you wanted to, but you just simply had no time, no energy to do so. But by you essentially doing that, your avoidant ex is going to potentially see that in some way or some form, because by you going no contact with them, they are going to start to get curious, and they may start to reach out to somebody or try to look through other ways to see you on social media. But either way, typically it gets out that you are essentially doing your own thing. And by this, that's going to cause this person to really question their decision here and want to potentially maybe start to work things out with you, because they realize that they could very much lose you entirely. When it comes to the emotional aspect, you want to do the same exact thing here, right? You've probably been neglecting yourself again in this aspect in some way or some form because you had no time, right? You were so focused on trying to meet this person's emotional needs that you again neglected yourself. So it's really about you looking inward and wondering, what exactly do you need now? Where do you need that emotional stability to be built up? Because it really comes from you, and you're the only one that's going to build that up in a healthy way, because you're the only one that knows yourself the best here. Which segues perfectly into number 4, and that is to prioritize yourself and your own happiness. This is so crucial. you have put yourself aside in so many ways and forms, right? We've just talked about all the other ways, but there's probably a massive other list in ways that you've done this. And what you want to focus on here is really genuinely asking yourself, what is going to make you happy? What do you need to do in this moment to do that, right? There's probably so many things that you have not done because this person has really consumed all of your time and energy and effort that you couldn't do the things that made you happy, really. And even if you had time to do that, you were so exhausted emotionally and physically that you just never did. So this is really about you understanding what are those things that make you happy and trying to do those for yourself. It may be difficult in the beginning because there's a lot of other emotions that's going on here, but the more that you stick to this, the more you're going to genuinely start to feel happy again, and that's going to reflect to other people, right? There's going to be a new, refreshed glow that comes off of you, and everyone around you can't help but see this. Again, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. In the beginning, it tends to be just you just doing these things little by little, and you'll start to slowly feel good again. But you again want to prioritize your own happiness and really understanding what that looks like for you. And the last thing here is to reclaim yourself again and detach from the outcome. As you probably have caught along by now, the entire message of what you want to do here is to prioritize yourself. You are no longer going to worry about this person and how they're feeling and all these different things. I know that this is easier said than done, and there's going to be a part of you that's going to wonder these things, but you just need to stick to this as best as you can and understand that this is about you. The only person that you can control is yourself. You can't control whether this person is going to ever feel regret, no matter how long it is, right? Because the honest truth here is that typically most avoidants take a very long time before they feel regret, because there's a lot of different things that is going on before they actually begin to start to realize the magnitude of losing you and allow themselves to feel those negative emotions. But the other part of this too is that they may not ever get to that point. Or if they do ever feel that, they won't tell you because that would require them to essentially be vulnerable, and they don't want to deal with that. Or whatever it is that they're telling themselves as to why they can't disclose that information to you. So that's why it is so important for you to focus on yourself. You are the only thing in this entire world that you can control. That is it. Everyone else is going to have their own opinions and feelings and do their own things, and that's especially true when it comes to an avoidant. So I know that this is hard, and I know that this might not be what you want to hear, but it is the truth. And I promise you that if you can understand this, it is going to do you so much more wonders than you trying to wait around for this person to feel some type of regret, because you may go through this entire thing and then they never do this, and you will be more disappointed and hurt than you were in the initial breakup. I hope that you did enjoy today's video. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.